Motion to start the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, first order of business is the meeting minutes from the previous week. Everyone get a chance to read those?
November 3rd meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written. November 3rd. Sorry.
Any comments on those meeting minutes?
I think, on the discussion of setting up a calendar for the FY '23 budget meeting, I'd like to continue that discussion, and in it, I'd like to, again, discuss getting together a step-by-step procedure worksheet put together so everybody's agreed on it, so that we can, as we, this year and future years and future FinCom, have a guide to go by, so that less chance of something slipping through the cracks like last year. That's all I have for the discussion.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Our next order of business was 7 and 8, which involved the police department for the revolving account. I believe one was to create the account.
One for the account and one is to set the limit.
The limit, yes, account and the limit. Thank you.
The chief said he was going to come by.
He's here.
He's here.
Oh,
Hey Mike, how you doing?
good.
So I guess you guys had some questions about this item?
Yeah, I believe the consensus was the guys wanted a little bit more information as to how the money was going to be spent coming into it, or I should say going out of it once a value was into the account. I don't think they were satisfied, or we were satisfied with the information. Okay.
Okay, so I put this before the selectmen to get on there. So what we do, and we've done in the past, is when private contractors request details and they want a cruiser, traditionally we've just given them a cruiser to use. The cruiser is maintained by the town, paid for by the town, maintenance by the town, gas by the town. When I became chief, this was something I wanted to change. If a private contractor is requesting a cruiser, I did a survey of 10 local towns. 9 out of 10 charge an amount for that cruiser use. They let the contractors know that. It goes into a fund to maintain the detail cruisers that they actually use. Most of the towns have established actually cruisers. Instead of turning them in, what they'll do is they'll keep one. We get limited value for it, a trade-in cruiser. They give us a few $1,000s for it. So what most towns do is they'll keep a cruiser specifically for details. That'll be the cruiser used for it. The money is used to maintain it, repair it, if anything happens to it, gas for it. And then additionally, that money can be used for events where we have details and we think we need a cruiser, but the contractors are requesting them. So again, the town wouldn't be paying for the extra use on, and wear and tear on these cruisers when they're used for private duty details. So it's something I wanted to set up for a long time. I don't really think it's fair myself as a taxpayer that private companies are getting use of these type of services pretty much for free, and the taxpayers bear the burden of the gas, the repairs, the costs. For instance, what really brought this forward is we had a cruiser on a detail. It got damaged. The amount to fix it would have been the same as the deductible. So I ended up just having to pay it out of our budget to fix the damage for it. And if we had a revolving account, that's something we could have used instead of taking it out of our own budget.
Chief, I had a question. How often last year were cruisers used for details like this?
I'd have to do the stats on that. I mean, they're used all the time. So we have the end zone detail that's done every single Saturday. Currently, I let them use the old pickup truck. So that one they don't request a cruiser for. But if we had accounts set up where it was paid for, we had a detailed cruiser, I'd probably be sending that cruiser up there instead of our front lines. I mean, to give you a ballpark, 10, 20 times at least a year, people, you have a utility company such as National Grid or Verizon saying we want a detail with a cruiser. So, I mean, depending what we set the fee with the selectmen, I put a limit at 15,000 because don't think it would ever get there in a year, not even close. But it would be basically just to maintain the usage, So again, I don't think that the taxpayers should be paying the gas for a detail.
And how much would you charge? Just out of curiosity.
They range anywhere from a dollar amount hour. I think there's one that's $10 an hour, all the way up to just $200 for the detail. So that's something once approved, I would, if it's at the town meeting, it's approved, then the selectmen and I would get back together and actually figure out where we think would be a fair rate for Mendon. So I would take the numbers that I received from all the towns locally, and then we would set a rate from there for the time being. And again, that rate could be adjusted depending on how we feel. If we feel it's a value that we're getting from it, or if we think it needs to be raised at a certain time, that would be between the selectmen and myself to sit down in a meeting and have that voted by the board.
That seems surprisingly low to me.
What seems low?
So per hour charge, $10 an hour?
Yeah.
Well, for a 8-hour detail, it's $80 for a cruiser.
So Chief, you mentioned there's going to be an extra cruiser not traded in. I mean, just running the numbers, would that actually be a positive cash flow? Having an extra cruiser at that?
Well, there is no extra. So we don't pay our insurance. Kim can probably confirm this based on the amount of cruisers we have. We're self-insured through Maya. So whether I have one cruiser or 20 cruisers, it's not going to change the rates that we pay.
Sure.
So right now, I actually carry more cruisers than we did a couple of years ago. The reason being, you trade them in, you get next to nothing. But I kept a court car, a training car. Getting $2,000 for a trade-in, because we have to go through municipal bids, to me is ridiculous with a car with 120,000 miles on it. If I can use minimal maintenance on it and supplement that, and they don't take the frontline cruises to court, to training, then I'm actually, extending the life of our actual frontline cruises and they're being used as frontline cruises. Less risk of them getting damaged in accidents, less wear and tear, less idle time. And we've been able to actually extend our leases. We've got into 5-year leases where we used to do 3-year leases. So we've been pretty efficient the past 5 or 6 years with our cruisers. And we run them 24/7. So if you had a limited amount, think of running your own car literally 24 hours a day. It just wouldn't last that long.
Right. It seems the revenue coming in for that extra cruiser, would it be a positive cash flow to maintain that vehicle? I guess that's the question I was trying to get at. Maybe that's correct.
Oh yeah, I think to maintain it, that's something I would have to manage. If it wasn't positive at the time, that I wouldn't get the cruiser, I'd drop it. I mean, that would obviously be part of my budgeting, that I would have to, when we trade in a cruiser, if I'm going to get 2,000 or 3,000 for it, and then we have an account established, I'd have to look at the first year, see how much we bring in, look at gas usage. I'd have to pull all those numbers and stats up, and then obviously at that point, I'm going to see if it makes sense or not. But I mean, I have to obviously get there before I can even, spend all that time figuring out all those numbers.
Have you talked to these other towns that do a similar approach? Does it work for them as far as cash flow?
Yeah, it works for them. It's some of them don't use specific detail cruisers. Some do, some don't. Some just supplement with their own cruises. And during those details, they devote a portion of it to the gas, any maintenance. And if they, they assign, say we have 6 marked cruisers, they use, say, cruiser 1 all the time just for details. What they'll do is, they'll figure out if they have, 50 details that are done with that cruiser a year, then they take a percentage of that, and that's what they make sure that is coming out of the account going into the budget. So it's not coming out of your operating budget.
And Tim, just for my knowledge, if money was captured in that account and not spent, where would it go at the end of the year? Would it carry over, or would it just go back?
Well, so it would be like any unanticipated revenue or any fee that we charge. It would go into local receipts, and it would,
Hold on, Kim, I think the question, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the question I think is what would happen in the revolving account? It would stay in there and not go into local receipts, right? Was that the question?
Right, it stays in the revolving account. Much like we did with the water board, so that they have money to set aside to do capital repairs, this would be the same.
Okay, yeah, that was the question. Yep.
So even if he's generating money slowly,
That's
3 years from now, then he can. Chief, one question. Currently, all the cruisers have like a fleet maintenance program, correct?
Yep, I have a fleet maintenance program set up on all the cruisers for replacement, maintenance. I have a fleet maintenance officer who actually maintains all the cruisers and gives me monthly reports on them, just to make sure we're on track with cruiser replacement. We have a schedule for it, so we're currently on that. What came about, obviously, is, if you're using a cruiser and it gets damaged, those are the type of things that I'd like to not have the town be stuck for. And the gas, if we can supplement the gas, if they're using a cruiser for supplement the gas, especially if they're using the end zone. And the other thing too is some details may not ask for them, but we may use, a cruiser for it, and then I can dedicate it to that. So then I wouldn't, it'd be nice to have a cruiser at the end zone every week. But my biggest fear is if it got damaged, then the town gets stuck for it. Even though they're not requesting one, but it is a busy road on 16 where, if we have busy nights, I can let them use a cruiser. And if it gets damaged, we could have an account that could cover it.
Do you guys have any other questions for the chief?
I have one question and then I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Chief, you plan on being at the special town meeting to answer any further questions on this from the voters and taxpayers?
Yep, absolutely, Mike. You see me at all the meetings, all the special town meetings, all the annual meetings. I'm always there. Sorry I couldn't make it there tonight. Mike called me last week, and I told him I'd be on the meeting, but I wasn't able to make it today.
So you're here. This is why we do.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the finance committee recommend Article 7 to the townspeople.
Do I have a second for Mike's motion?
Second.
Additional comments?
I think from my standpoint, clearly the town should be recovering some money for use of this. There's no question. If a business wants a cruiser, they should be paying for it. And I think it's just a question of where the money goes. Does it go into a fund for the police to use to pay for gas and pay for maintenance, or does it go into the general fund? I think to me, that's just the open question. I think absolutely the town should be capturing a use fee for it if businesses require or request it.
Yeah, I totally agree, yeah. I guess what would be the alternative if they didn't have, if you didn't have a revolving account? Where would the money go?
To the general fund.
Just to the
General,
general?
get local receipts and then, yeah.
It seems like it's relatively small. Just running 20 days at 8 hours at $10 is $1,600 for the year.
Right.
So it's not a lot of money. So I guess it would be the kind of thing, maybe to see how it goes, and maybe they're able to build up some cushion there.
One note too, we haven't really set the fee yet either. So it could be 20, it could be a flat fee of 200 per deal. So again, we haven't even discussed what the fee would be. But I guess using that number that was
It's not
the
like,
low
it's
number.
not like huge dollars here, but it could be used for some small maintenance, I guess.
So if they didn't have the revolving account, we just do repairs, wherever the money come from,
Of the regular budget.
from his regular budget.
Yeah, it comes on my budget, and then I'm short, and then I'm coming back to you guys for more money usually.
Gotcha. So this is basically to avoid having you come back to us that, you know, need this money to repair.
Yeah. And it would put another cruiser out there too. Like I said, if this does turn into something where it builds up, we would have to talk about it again, you know, obviously where the money would go. But if it doesn't build up, if it's small money a year, but it lets me use, you know, a cruiser in a few dangerous spots where people don't request cruises, it's more presence out there, especially, you know, late at night on 16 between, you know, 10 o'clock and 2 a.m. in the morning. There's blue lights on 16 where people are crossing the street instead of, you know, just having a regular detail there that they usually request.
Any other comments, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I believe the next item is going to be, I think we're skipping over, is the 12.
No, to Article 8. Article 8 is to see if the town will vote to set the limits on the revolving fund created in Article 7. We didn't.
I'm sorry.
We didn't
I
address that
understand my
in
head
the
as a joint. So that is correct. So that article, the town will vote to set the limits of the revolving fund created in Article 7 in accordance with Mass General Law 44. That figure is 53.5 as followed or acted or do anything in relation to thereof for $15,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to have the Finance Committee support Article 8.
Second.
I have a question, and maybe Kim could answer it. What is the limit on the other revolving accounts for the other departments?
It varies by department. I think it's 35 for parks. I think it's 25 for Board of Health, and I think planning is like 15.
You got a second, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor of Article 8?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 8 passes. Mike, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I believe the town hall campus was agreed that we pass over.
I believe right, correct.
Is that still the same? Is that still going to happen? Ken?
Can you answer that? I believe that is the case.
Well,
The select board is going to talk about that article tomorrow night at their meeting.
so
Next item, I
So
believe.
we'll have to make sure that we find out at the FinCom meeting right before the special town meeting, we have to vote.
What time do we meet tomorrow night?
6, Kim, tomorrow night's meeting, 6?
6:30.
Yeah, we'll just do ours now. And then I believe our last open article was Article 19. I don't know if there's any additional information on that at this time.
Is that the Kinsley, so that would be the Kinsley and Hills Creek?
Yeah.
So I received the questions, still working on, getting some answers to them. Given the time frame, we more than likely will probably pass over this one for right now. Still going to pursue the details of it. And so I can get you guys the answers Some other people had some questions in town, still trying to kind of want to get down there and talk to the residents, talk to a few residents since the last meeting. But just given the time frame, I think we're probably, I mean, again, given what Cindy had sent over today, I still have, I didn't get a chance to talk with her today, get some clarification on a few things. You know, there seemed to be a slight contradiction in there based on you can't do anything, but if you're gonna take a road, you have to do a plan. So I kind of want to just get the details list. So we'll come back, we'll surprise circle back. I can say that. We'll come back around to that when we have a little bit more information. Thank you guys for the questions on that. It was helpful. I will say one thing about it. I did talk to Alan the next day about kind of when the roads in town were accepted. It was roughly around 1940 that everything was kind of accepted. And at the time, Kinsley Lane was all cottages, all summer cottages. So it wasn't accepted as a road. There was no really year-round residence there. Now it's a year-round residence street that people are living there. So there's at least the history on why it wasn't brought in with all the other roads, which again, the laws will dictate what we can and can't do. But hopefully we'll be able to get some answers and try to move some things along if we can.
Yeah, I actually took a ride down there. Actually surprising. Compared to what I've seen in prior roads with dirt and potholes.
So I have two of you on, we still have 1 more minute quickly. I was just telling Alan, we have 1 Myrtle Street and 9 Main Street for local upgrade requests for tonight. 1 Myrtle, you guys can vote on because Tom Breiter has approved it. 9 Main Street, however, you'll have to pass that over because Tom is needing additional information and he has not gotten it yet from the engineer. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, hold on. No, somebody just wasn't on mute. Somebody was in another meeting. Listening on. I'm like, how did the Board of Health get in here with us?
Okay, in my unprofessional opinion, it didn't seem like there was any safety issue for the fire department. Police department down the roads.
They were actually going to go check it as well, both police and fire, to get an answer on that.
Clearly, the road is.
Well, it's 100% passable. It's
But to make it a regular true road, you'd be taking a while.
well, again, I think
There's actually a shed like right on the road, right on the corner.
understood. And the goal wasn't to actually make it a proper width road. I don't know you could physically make it happen. So it was kind of to determine what's there. That will be the road, and then that will be made. That was not to make it a striped road that you or as wide as a house, a road for a new subdivision. It was never that wide. So
I did Google, not everything Google's the truth. Certainly overwhelming opinion with a private road. It's responsible for me.
And again, I can completely understand that statement and understand it. The fact that the history though, to me says that the fact that it is a private road wasn't accepted because it wasn't a road that had full-time residents on it. Now it is a road that has full-time residents on it. It was a road admitted that wasn't accepted for a specific reason. It wasn't that the road was built or we have roads now that are built and they're actually called private roads, right? I think on Moore Street, Adair Road is one, right? And there's one house. So, but it's a private, it's a private road. It's a little bit of the cul-de-sac. Again, I'm only going based upon the request of the folks that was there. I just, whether or not the overwhelming opinion is that private roads are to be maintained or not, I have some strong feelings about this really and accepting it as a town.
I'm not getting the same reading.
And just the other thought is, some people prefer to live on a private road. Because, it's not, it's dirt or whatever it is, people go really slow. And that's their preference when they purchase the property sometimes.
Sure. And I think that I'll be able to vet those questions as I meet with the residents down there and everything. It's just, it's it's one of those, again, I think it's one of those little gray area roads that it is used as such a public way that, you know, that we'll get some more answers and see what. But thank you.
Any other comments kind of on that? Because we agree to kind of pass over that informally.
Yeah, unless they tell us that they're
Yeah.
going to be full.
Just the more information really the time. Okay, so that basically concludes our business with the articles. And like, I don't know what you said, Mike, I think our next order of business is just to discuss the budget and how that worksheet will be created. We'll have to spend some time doing that.
Yeah, I think we should,
Yeah.
for starters, did everybody get the memo sent out by Kim on December 14th? Start off with welcome to the F-22 budget season. The town accountant would be kind of preloaded all the department's requests. And it was also mentioned that we have a finance director now. Mr. Chairman, I'd like a request to be put out that finance director should come and meet the finance committee. So we know who she is,
Yes.
who it is.
She actually contacted me.
Oh, good.
Yes.
She's on the call right now.
Oh, great.
Great.
Yeah. Jody Kersey.
And then,
What's her name?
Jody Kersey.
And her title is finance director?
Yes. She has another title as well.
Treasurer.
Treasurer slash treasurer?
Treasurer collector,
Treasurer, collector.
yes.
Two budget, three. Three.
I believe it's the 20.
This will be the 23 budget?
We're in the FY22 budget now.
So, I'll jump in.
So that's the form that we use every year and have used. That's the process we've done for the last 7 years since I've been with the town. Every December, and I believe you guys were included on the emails the last couple of years where we send out these forms about the process. Typically what happens is in December, between December and the end of the fiscal year or end of the calendar year, departments are asked to put their budgets into KVS, which is our financial software. And then sometime, usually between either the week right after Christmas all the way till the middle of January, I meet with all of the department heads to go over the details in their budget. Then a first draft of a budget is presented to the Board of Selectmen at their meeting, usually mid-January, with the second draft of the budget presented, first week of February. The FinCom starts to review the board's recommended budget, usually between February, and then we certify by St. Patrick's Day. That has traditionally been the process. The board also has this item on the agenda for tomorrow night. They want to potentially have more of the budget meetings held with the departments on basically at night on camera this year for more transparency. I believe you guys were saying sort of the same thing, so there's a possibility of overlap here. But you could ask any questions.
What I think should happen, that we've gotten away from over the past few years, is the first thing, the finance committee, because the finance committee, it says in the bylaw, finance committee has got to review the budget and has to make a recommendation to the town on any and all money articles. And in the past, tradition has been that the finance committee deals with the town board. But usually at the beginning, the Board of Selectmen meet with the Finance Committee and express their desires on how they want the budget to go. They advise the Finance Committee to try to stay within a level funded budget, a 2% increase budget, et cetera, et cetera. They charge us with that to do it. So I think when the Board of Selectmen budget review, we should be included. Not have it dumped on us and say, okay, make it all work, jam it in a month and a half.
Yeah, our people are the drafting process.
I know it's the 21st century and things are getting faster and whatnot, but still, it is our job.
I can't speak to whether or not that's something we can be invited to. I don't know, is that something that can occur in that manner?
Well, again, it's up to the Board of Selectmen.
That's what I'm asking,
They set policy. Finance Committee does not set policy.
Yep.
We work at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, it's on a discussion for the night, so look, I don't want to speak for the entire.
No, for sure, no.
I think that there'll be ample discussion on that tomorrow night, and by all means, if you guys are available, please listen in and give us any feedback you can. We want to make sure that the process is, if we can even streamline the process, what I mean? We might be able to meet jointly, whatever, again, to maybe take to a look. And again, this is going to make a big difference. Being able to do this high.
Oh, sure.
So, I think that hopefully we're going to see a much better, smooth process this year. We'll have this again.
Well, you guys discuss with them tomorrow. next meeting.
I'm just.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Everybody's aware of it because, quite frankly, I've been on the board for a long time. I know I say that all the time. But in all the years I've been on, no one has ever put together a worksheet, step-by-step sheet for the budget process that you can get on and say, okay, first thing that happens is the department heads put together a budget. They submit it. Here's the things that we have to see in order to formulate the budget and into the calculations. You've been on the board for several years now. Do you know what to
It's
do?
more than 7, because Rich was chairman.
But what my question is, do you know what to do all by yourself? If everybody else was new here and you're the only senior member, would you know what to do?
So I think it's more.
And again, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or put anybody on the spot.
Yeah.
I'll readily admit, no, I've got it doing it so many times, I've got a real good idea. But there's no thing to go by. We're not always gonna have this board. It's gonna change. I think it would make it easier for future boards
Yeah, no, I
and for
can.
future people, so that things don't fall through the cracks. And we're embarrassed in front of the townspeople
For sure.
at a live meeting. That's all. So I'd like to see a step-by-step procedure,
Yeah.
where the revenue, again, okay, you gotta fill in the blanks here to get to this number, fill in the blanks to get to this number. You know what I mean? And the last thing I kind of wanna do over this. Kim, you said, we're anticipating a difficult budget year. Well, we always say that. I'm just want to ask a question. What leads us to say that this year, when last year we?
That's last
Can we
year's
finish?
memo.
Can I finish? What leads us to say that this year, when we just
That's
went over?
It's last year's memo. It's not this year's memo. What she sent was.
Okay, but what the point I'm trying to make is, we got $600,000 plus in free cash. Where are we anticipating a difficult budget year?
That memo is last year's memo.
Understood.
So that statement is not, nobody's saying it's a difficult time of year. Is what I'm saying. That's last year's number. That's why it says 22. That's what she was just saying.
That's what I got, and I printed out the meeting last week.
I understand.
And I understand, it could be a typo, it was a
That's last year.
boilerplate message that was sent out.
No, what she was sending was, saying, this is what we've been using, and this was last year's information. So all that is last year's information. You can look at the dates for the budget calendar, it's all 21. So it was, and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to.
No, I'm not, again, I'm not trying to be, cause trouble here, I'm just trying to say, when you get stuff like this, I looked at it and went, right, so in reality, this was a canned message.
It was last year's
You
memo.
gotta read the email first to know what this was.
Sure. So
It said, this is what I've sent out in the past, I think that's
Yeah.
what she was trying to say was. This is what I've sent out.
that's
in the
why it
past.
still says FY 22, we were just talking about it, because that was the
It's
22
dated
memo.
December
It's the
15th.
memo hasn't come out yet for 23.
Okay.
But I do understand.
Again, we should all get a little bit clearer on the stuff that we sent out, so things don't fall through the cracks. That's all.
So I think you're alluding to this checklist or process to avoid some of the issues we've had in the past, maybe the checks and balances.
Correct.
Is that what you're?
That's what, right. No, and not only for us to use right now in the present, but for future FinComs down the road. When we retire or get too busy to do this.
I mean, my general observation of this process, which quite frankly, I don't remember seeing this before, but I probably did. But I just didn't look at it. My general observation is the FinCom is pretty much at the end of the process.
Right.
Which I think why I brought this up previously. I think I'd like to add more value. I think we can add more.
No, I-
Early in the process.
Right.
How that happens, I don't know, but that's what I would challenge.
Understood, yeah, and again, that was on my mind from our discussion last week, which I'll bring up at tomorrow night's meeting. Again, like I said, maybe we can streamline this and condense it even, to have some of those together, so that, again, you're at the beginning and with us on the initial discussion, so you're hearing it for the first time. But again, let me get with the full board.
Just one more thought, I mean, the FinCom, I think we'll have 7 members, knowledgeable members, and I think we have a lot to offer. And I'm thinking maybe we could offload some of the stuff you guys do, or what a town administrator does, and so that you guys can be doing more important stuff. That's just a general comment too, policies. Because I think we are lacking some. I think about the, even the capital committee. Who's responsible for developing a policy and a process for that committee? Is it the committee? Because we got bogged down in that. Really couldn't do our jobs in the process. I don't know who's responsible for that, but I mean, that would be something, is that something?
Yep. I would assume it's on us. I mean, it's a appointed committee, so we would probably tasked with that. However, my feelings on capital planning, it's just under the auspices of the finance committee, but that's a whole bylaw change. I mean, we're talking about that too. But I
The
understand.
function is still there.
I understand what you're saying. Maybe we ran into a situation even just today. Committees using Zoom instead of Teams, and we never made a formal policy about using Microsoft Teams as we railroaded this thing in. So there was still a couple of randoms out there using Zoom, which those recordings now are not in the vault for the town, so we had to work through. So again, it has some well-written policy. Right. Sometimes I don't know if the policy would make a difference, but you're right, it needs to be there.
If it's non-existent. And, in my experience, work life, the higher ups, the VP, the directors, like you guys, we sort of present, develop those policies. So the committees or the departments would at least have something, maybe not the processes in detail, but
Yeah.
the general outline of
Even
what
if it's
should be
general.
done, who's responsible, all that stuff.
Sure.
Some guidance, at least to develop a process.
So for my knowledge, and it's just because I just don't understand, maybe Kim or Jody could explain who's going to be doing what as part of the new role of the finance director? Is that the title?
Yes.
Yeah, the finance, either Kim or Jody could maybe inform me, educate me on kind of the roles and responsibilities this year and how these things will be maybe different than in the past.
The only difference this year, because this is Jody's first year through, is we're going to be doing it together, and she will be your main point of contact at meetings for providing factual information to the board that you need. The process itself will remain the same. Like I said, most of the numbers on the revenue, the revenue numbers don't come in until end of December. The expenditure numbers will be in by New Year's. So really in January, what I would anticipate is she will be with me when we start to meet with the individual departments, and then we'll be going to the board as soon as we have, close to a number. And then also potentially participating in anything involving the school and the multi-board and trying to figure out that for this year.
And going forward, say next year, Jody would be leading that effort? Is that the intent?
We will always do it in conjunction, but ideally she is the person taking the lead for anything financially related.
All the more reason to have a set standard procedure to follow.
Thanks.
Are there any other comments on this overall? I think we're in a place where we really need to select board and speak about this and more feelings, I think, and see what lies. And I believe we still have the November 23rd meeting. Is that?
I haven't posted it yet.
No, so I just want to double check that I have my memory is correct. Because
I would just maybe ask Jody, I don't know if put you on the spot, but if you'd like to introduce yourself to the members of the FinCom, please they can put a name on the face, whereas some people might already know you. Are you there?
Hey guys, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I appreciate what Kim had said, and I agree, and we've spent some time talking about what that model will look like for this year and going forward. I think that, being in the building and sort of interacting on a daily basis with all the departments and the department heads, we'll have an up close view of, their working day in and day out sort of process and what that looks like. And we'll be on hand for them as well as I will be on hand for you guys in terms of being that liaison between the departments and the financial aspects of the town, and obviously getting whatever information you guys need to help inform some of the things that we talk about from a financial standpoint. So I look forward to that and to working with you guys.
Greg, I know I'm looking forward to it. But again, I'm going to keep going on this until I see an actual process printed out. I can't stress enough. This year's finance committee has 3 new members, a chairman and 2 yet to be decided. How can we teach and show the 3 new guys, the 3 new persons? There we go. But you know what I mean? I know, I'm not trying to be difficult or
As a matter of fact,
we did was wrong or anything in the past, but
if I remember correctly, was there a little handbook or something we got at 120, or did that come from the state? I remember when I got on the first time, there was a handbook, and the DOR actually had a class, I want to say maybe even I took it, I can't remember that far back now, but they would come here.
wait, there's a class?
No, but I believe they came here, and actually, you could take the class for new FinCom members to kind of give you it was a broad overview of how municipal finance work, and it's totally different than the rest of the world, so, it was.
just some of the terms that
Right.
you know.
Because a lot of it is trial by fire, right? But it maybe, let me look back at, I have an old
Lonnie.
box. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that one of the things that I leveraged when I first started, the DLS Gateway, I don't know if you guys have been on that, but the Division of Local Services, they have a fantastic training and resource area on there, and I think this speaks to some of the things you're talking about, Mike. I think that we can do a good job with some of the succession planning that currently doesn't exist in particular places around town. Specifically, it sounds like within FinCom, there aren't any necessarily, aligned procedures and processes around the budgeting season, if you will. And so I think that we can leverage some of the resources that our partners produce. They're really good quality and they're accessible. So you can take them, whenever it's convenient for new members, et cetera. And I can sit down maybe with you, Mike, and get some thoughts on paper around, putting a little bit of a training plan together, if you will. It's the same kind of things that I'm working on within the treasurer collector's office. So that people coming in can have sort of the rules of the road and some contacts and really just the lay of the land. People that volunteer that can have some support right off the bat. So maybe offline we can talk about it and I can help you guys get started.
Yeah, that would be great. Very helpful for myself and the new members, I think. That would be huge.
And I believe it's still there's an association of finance committees. That's where we usually get the finance committee handbook. Every year they would be either updated or add an addendum to it.
So that just triggered a thought of, benchmarking a similar town, what's their process? That's considered, well run.
we are.
It's downhill from here.
I'm not gonna comment. What I'm saying though, there is a city or a town that's considered their processes working fabulously.
Well,
Or maybe Upton.
I think the processes are the same. You've got to count, you got to get the request from each department. Then you've got to add up what your income is, the income and the known expenditures that you can't get away from. But it's not written anywhere. We're going on memory and what's supplied to us. So how do we know that we received all the information if we don't know what all the information is? That's what I'm saying. If I can't make a meeting and you can't make a meeting and there's 2 new members, questions are going to go unanswered. That's all. Just something that's standardized that they can use pretty much forever.
I think it's the Mass Municipal Association.
Yes.
And the Mass Municipal Association is they mention, yes, I think it's the association that they publish that. So, and then the Municipal Association, I think it's like the resource that they be with on MMA.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly.
I think it's streamlined that they put that.
And again, my concern is for future generations of finance committees that they're being taught the right way.
Well, I think you make an excellent point. Maybe an ideal opportunity to build it off of
Discs, didn't we want to discs for the committee ones
This,
from MMA? Yes, those are old fashioned.
we could probably get about,
We're on a zip.
well, again, I think that, I think on a zip drive.
At the time, that was a big improvement. The use of mail booklet.
Right. Like I said, what Jody was alluding to, I think is going to be super helpful too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It might even be, that's where everything got consolidated down, because everything was kind of well.
Yes.
But let's take a look at what she's got there. It will be helpful, and again, we'll do whatever we can to get as much together as possible to make it so it's a little bit, again, maybe you guys can.
It'll alleviate some of the frustrations.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any improvement activity like this, you know, but you need a champion. You know, who's going to be that champion to drive this improvement?
Yeah, I think Jody's
Okay,
is gonna be that person. Perfect.
Are there any other comments on this for now? I think we.
Well, I think we get the point of
Yeah.
that.
Yep. No, I don't-
So I did start to develop an area for you guys that will have, you know, an area for documents, things to be shared on it. It would make it a lot easier.
Like OneDrive.
Yeah, I'm just putting together groups now, we're getting all that together to finalize what we need to do here. We just switch hands for seconds for what we're doing here technology wise. So that's going to be a huge piece. We're just running a test of trying to run figure out the best way for you guys to be able to utilize this, so we can give a simple set of instructions so that I don't have to be here. I don't mind coming to the meeting for sure, but I think what we're going to try to do is give it a FinCom login. You know, each board have its own login, so that when you log in, you'll log into the computer, you'll have access to the files, so that you can share something up. Whatever you're seeing, what you would normally see in your share, will be there for you to utilize as well. Be able to record the meetings that we, you know, categorize correctly. So we're just finalizing those few pieces now. So Dan was on here earlier, so I'll get with Dan later. Dan's been super helpful working with me to get those types of things done here. So.
Will that include the budget spreadsheet?
So again, that I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna, yes,
At least
we're trying to get a read-only piece together, because again, we just want to be careful with.
Oh, yeah.
So that although like, hopefully this is the last year we're gonna use that spreadsheet based upon the software, we're getting, so you guys will be able to have access to that piece. So yes, for this year, we'll have it so that it's a read-only for everybody to see at all times and not be running off of version 6, version 7, which version am I supposed to be on?
Print out before the meeting, just stuff.
No, I completely understand it. We have this now, we should be able to do this.
Cool, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just got a couple other things. Our next meeting is when?
November 23rd. Is that not correct?
I want to know
That's before
to
the.
post for the 17th as well.
Well, that's the special town meeting is the 17th.
17th is second town meeting.
So I
I'm
never-
away on vacation.
Yeah.
And then you were supposed to half an hour before, so you guys can get together.
So you want to do 6:30?
For that.
Special.
Yes.
So what time do you want for the other, one? For the 23rd?
6:30, I believe, works best for me. As you guys know, Jack knows I won't be able to make it to that meeting.
So what would you like on the agenda for the 23rd?
That's going to be discussing the worksheet and processes. And that'll be as a result of the selectmen, Steve and Jody as well.
So, for the meeting on the 17th, when will we see, Kim, I guess, when will we see the motions? You're not going to be at the 17th
I
meeting?
cannot be, I'm away, I'm staying.
As it stands right now, it might be questionable if I'm going to make it,
Okay.
but I would, that's why I'm asking.
Yep.
The motions to be made so that we can review them.
Yep.
And make sure the other members can review them in case.
Yep.
I'm going to try to get out of it, but I have a company meeting I usually have to attend.
Okay.
So it might fall to one of the other members. And I would like the motions early than later so that we can agree on the, it's nothing more embarrassing to make a motion and then have someone ask you a question, you know, why.
Yeah.
Why you approve it. We should all be on the same page.
Quick question, Mr. Chairman, on if the 17 is presenting some scheduling challenges, I've got a doctor's appointment myself in Boston, so it's going to be a little challenging to be back here at 6:30. I'll be close, kind of close. Is it possible that we could perhaps meet on the 16th instead?
It's the special town meeting, is the 17th.
Understood, but
Oh, I see.
if we find FinCom on the 16th, Is it, would it be the times for this group to be executed?
They're not there, it's only making out.
Well, he says it.
I'm not, I'm trying to get out of it.
Right, but I'm just saying, worst case, it could be just Nick and I.
Well, it should be 2 more members.
Oh, okay, by then, okay.
So in order to vote on it, you need a quorum, number one. You
Well,
won't be,
that's not necessarily true, because the town meeting, you're just making the motion, anybody can second it. But your early part of the meeting, I'm sorry.
earlier part of the meeting, we still have maybe 1 or 2 things we might have to vote on. If we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on it. We don't need a quorum to recommend the motions.
Hold on,
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah,
so
no,
we're not quite sure.
sorry, the initial question was to Kim, when will the motions be ready?
So the board is gonna meet tomorrow night, so we'll have the dollar amounts that they recommend for the articles. So, and I should have typically, we have them on the Monday before we send them over. In the past, we did that because they were projected on the screen. So not sure what the setup is for this year. Well, I guess I'll find out in a half an hour at the walkthrough for the special town meeting, but typically we do them the Monday.
And the meeting's Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, is that outside?
That's what it is. But typically, we'll have to discuss that. We used to write our own motion.
Yeah, I understand that.
The information was supplied to us, and we would have going to write the motions. That's why I asked at the beginning who's writing the motion.
Do you prefer to write them?
No,
Let's get,
always too many questions.
I'll second that.
I'm gonna get them right.
let's get through this one.
Okay.
And in the process, we'll develop as a committee what we want to do. But that's why I brought it up, to make sure there's no last minute, who's got the warrants, where are the warrants, what are the warrants, what's the money?
If I know the information, I'll just assume to do myself.
Understood.
But right up until the last minute, I still have questions.
Okay, let's work through it as we have it present right now, and then we can make some changes again. If we need to.
So do we feel we need to set a meeting earlier than 6:30 on Wednesday? Or with the additional members, I think probably would be okay.
Can I-
Well, she's going to email.
I'll just make a suggestion that you have plenty of time to make that decision.
Okay.
To set an agenda if you had to, for the day before. Let's get through the appointments, get everybody sworn in, make sure that, and we can check their schedules. If we know we're gonna have a quorum, the STM, then it's probably a little bit less. Again, anything to vote at the STM is probably minimal at this point. I think we can discuss the passovers. You guys have agreed to the current list of it.
Oh, yeah, so.
That makes sense. Did you have any other?
No, that's pretty much it. I just want to get all the bases covered.
Yeah, sure.
No big.
The agenda. Just making sure everybody's satisfied. I don't know, open the tonight's meeting.
All right, just let me go over it again. For the special town meeting, we're going to post at 6:30,
Correct.
and that's at Municipal? Yes, okay. And for the 23rd, I'm going to post for 6:30 here. Do you want it to be virtual as well? Like we did before?
Yeah, I think other than a special, I would make every one of them hybrid, because that's what we're gonna, I believe the board's gonna make that decision tomorrow night anyway. So we'll have this process there.
So when I make it hybrid, I just tell all of them, ask for the post.
Just- Sorry, an aside, the town hall is actually closed on the evening of the 23rd.
Oh, 6. Is that right?
Just FYI, because it's a half day in the town.
It's Tuesday?
So someone will just need a key, so you'll have to manage that, right?
Oh, that's another request. Can we get some keys?
Yeah,
seconds.
one.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving
is
is
Thursday.
Thursday.
but Wednesday's a half day.
No, so, no, Tuesday's that, wait,
Tuesday a half day?
Why
Wednesday.
Tuesday?
Say Wednesday is a half day, Thursday is Thanksgiving.
wait, what's the 23rd?
Tuesday.
Oh,
Yes, we're good. I mean.
so they're okay to do it that night?
If he's-
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Even if they are, they-
We know, she was just saying we need keys, that's all. Got it, thanks. And I'll give you one, but I will get you set.
That makes sense.
Yep.
No other business, I move to. Meeting.
Like you can.
Oh, I.
You can accept the motion.
Request the motion. I gotta write that down. You got messed up last time too.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
And one item of discussion on that. I don't know if everybody's heard, but Nipmuc will be playing BBT
Oh, yeah, I heard that on
at
the.
Fenway Park. On Thanksgiving Eve at 4:00 at night, tickets are $20. They're playing at BBT, then this senior class will have played BBT, both senior classes will have played each other at Gillette Stadium and now Fenway Park. So, kind of neat stuff.
That's really cool.
Right. And Thanksgiving, like I said, I think the game started at 4, their game is first, and then there's another 2 towns playing each other later, so it should be pretty neat night.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye. Good night.
No.